Welcome to Crisis in Perception, where we dig into the systems that shape our world. Today, we are tackling a huge question, using Martin Griffiths' 50 Key Thinkers in International Relations as our guide. We're going to explore how the theories that leaders use aren't just abstract ideas. They're powerful tools that literally define what's possible on the world stage. So, let's jump right in. Really think about that for a second. If you're a president, a prime minister, anyone in a position of power, you're getting hit with a tidal wave of information 24/7. So out of all that chaos, how do you decide what's important? How do you even begin to choose what to do next? Well, here's the secret. They don't just see the raw, unfiltered facts. They can't. Instead, they see reality through a filter. And for this explainer, we're going to call that filter a special pair of institutional glasses. This one metaphor, this single idea, is going to be our key to unlocking how entire worldviews get built. Okay, so what exactly are these institutional glasses? What are they made of? It's not just a simple frame, right? It's actually a pretty complex system with two major parts that have to work together. Understanding these two parts is absolutely crucial to seeing how perception gets manufactured. All right, check this out. It's actually pretty simple when you break it down like this. On one hand, you have the frames of the glasses. These are the institutions, the big, powerful organizations that produce and validate knowledge, like universities and governments. And then, slotted right into those frames, you have the lenses. And the lenses, those are the specific theories. Realism, liberalism, they're what tell you what to look at and what it all means. And this is where it gets really powerful. Because when you change the lens you're looking through, you don't just see the world differently. You actually start to believe that different actions are possible, or rational, or even necessary. You change the view, and you change the world. So let's try on our first lens. This is the realist lens. And when you put these glasses on, the world snaps into a really stark focus. You see a world without a global government, what they call an anarchical system. And in that world, the only thing that really truly matters is power. States are just locked in this constant, never-ending struggle for it. And this quote from the realist thinker Robert Gilbin just nails the conclusion this lens leads to. He says, the main way things have ever changed is through hegemonic war, these massive, system-shattering conflicts that decide who's on top. From this perspective, history isn't some nice story of progress. It's just a brutal, repeating cycle of powers rising and falling. So you can see how this plays out, right? If you're a policymaker wearing these realist glasses, building up a massive military isn't seen as aggressive. It's just common sense. It's survival. The whole insane logic of nuclear deterrence, where peace is kept by threatening to blow up the whole world, suddenly seems completely rational. It's the only logical move in a world built on a struggle for power. But what happens if we pop that lens out and try a different one? Let's put in the liberal lens. Whoa, the picture changes completely. The world isn't just a bunch of states fighting anymore. Instead, you see this complex, tangled web of connections, economic, political, you name it. And because of this interdependence, cooperation isn't just a nice idea, it's absolutely essential. Let's put them side by side. It makes it super clear. For realists like Waltz and Gilpin, it's all about states, power, and anarchy. It's a zero-sum game. If I win, you lose. But for liberals like Keohane, it's not just states. You've got these powerful international institutions, too. The whole game shifts to interdependence and cooperation, where it's actually possible for everyone to win together. So with these liberal glasses on, you start to see that power isn't just about who's got the most missiles. It's about who has economic leverage, who gets to write the rules at the World Trade Organization. Power becomes about shaping these global regimes that manage everything from banking to the environment. And suddenly, globalization looks like the engine of peace and progress.
All right, time for our third and final lens. And this one's a bit of a game changer. The critical lens does something totally different. It doesn't just look through the glasses to see the world. It steps back and looks at the glasses themselves. It asks, hang on, why are we even using these lenses?
The whole point of the critical lens is to expose the blind spots, to ask, what are we not seeing? So someone like Cynthia Enloe looks at the role of women in the global economy and uncovers all these hidden power structures. Others start questioning basic ideas like sovereignty, arguing that the concept itself actually limits what we can imagine. The core point is that theories like realism are not neutral. They often prop up the very power structures they claim to just be describing. And as Enloe asks, is it just a coincidence that most of these key thinkers are men? No way. That tells you something important about whose views get counted. So that leads to a huge question, doesn't it? If these lenses are so incredibly powerful, who gets to decide which ones we use? Who's the optometrist writing the prescription for these institutional glasses? Well, to answer that, we have to look at the system that produces them.
See, it's a system that runs on some really powerful incentives. Policymakers are drowning in complexity. They want simple models that give them clear answers. Academics, they build their careers by arguing within the accepted theories, not by challenging them. Think tanks get their funding by giving policymakers ideas that are actionable now, within the current system. And of course, the media has to boil it all down into a simple story we can all understand.
And what you get is this incredible feedback loop. The universities teach the main theories, the canon, to the next generation. That generation goes on to work in government and think tanks where they use those same theories. The media reports on it, solidifying it in the public mind, and the whole cycle just repeats. It's a system that's designed to reinforce itself.
And that self-reinforcing loop, that brings us right to the heart of the matter. It brings us to the core problem we're talking about today. It's what we call the crisis in perception. So here it is. This is the crucial point. The crisis in perception happens when we completely forget that we're wearing glasses in the first place. It's that moment when we mistake the view through one particular lens, realist, liberal, whatever, for objective, neutral reality itself. We forget it's just a tool, a filter that's been shaped by an entire system of incentives, and we start treating it as the absolute truth.
So let's just zoom out one last time to see the really big picture. This system for producing international relations theory, it isn't operating in a vacuum. It's actually a key component of a much bigger machine, the modern knowledge economy of governance. You can literally trace the path. It's like an assembly line for reality. An idea is born in a university, it gets translated and packaged for policymakers at a think tank, the media then simplifies it for all of us, and finally it gets absorbed into government bureaucracies, where it becomes the default, common sense assumption for how things are run. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground. The glasses, the different lenses, the system, the crisis. So after all that, what is the one single thing you should take away from this whole explainer? It's this: you can't see better until you understand what's shaping your vision in the first place. By analyzing the system, the incentives, the institutions, the feedback loops that build and promote these lenses, you gain the power to see them for what they really are. They're powerful tools, for sure, but they are not perfect reflections of reality. And knowing that, well, that's the first and most important step towards seeing the world and our own place in it, just a little bit more clearly. Crisis in Perception examines how systems shape belief and how better tools help us see clearly. This project is free and publicly accessible. If you'd like to support the time, tools, and research behind Crisis in Perception, you can become a supporter on Patreon. For a longer audio-based analysis of this topic, see the deep dive linked in the description. If you enjoy this kind of systems-level analysis, please like, subscribe, and comment with books or topics you'd like us to explore next.